going to attempt to not say like so much.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're adjusting our calendars again.
No, I just bought my 2022 calendar that has all of the Marvel movies printed on it. I knew that wasn't a good idea. Bad investment.
Yeah, 2022. And I know you're smart, so you got the 18-month calendar that goes into 2023, so you got to get rid of that too.
I should have upgraded to those like peel and stick dates where you can just shift everything around.
Buy a pencil, people. Just buy a pencil. That's what we'll do. Or go to our website. We'll talk about that later. Anakin Skywalker might show up in Ahsoka.
Darth Vader is scheduled for every Star Wars property moving forward here on the show.
I've not seen Hayden Christensen in a movie or show in a while. So
he's been trending a little bit recently because he was in this really bad romantic comedy called Little Italy. I don't know when it came out, somewhat after his role in Star Wars. And I think it just got added to Netflix because it's not a new movie, but usually when something makes it a shift to a streaming service, people start watching it for the first time. Like, oh, if I haven't seen it, it's new to me. And it's just, I've been seeing the movie poster pop up in my feeds, and Hayden Christensen's face on that poster is just like, put me out of my misery.
That's actually a 2018 film. Just looked it up.
That's a lot earlier than I thought it was. All right.
Yeah, that's apparently it was around a couple years ago. The original Cowboy Bebop is now on Netflix. That's your PSA and more.
And more. I am recording from an undisclosed different location, so if I sound a little bit different, that's why. But special thanks to Patrick last week for filling in for me. I was traveling, seeing some family for the first time since the pandemic swept the world, so I fully appreciate it. It just happens to fall on like one of the biggest like media days that we have of the calendar year, but at least it was a DC media day, and it sounds like overall bit of a letdown last week for the fandom, it sounds like.
Nothing new really came out of it, but I mean, we could talk about it here at the top if you want to, Mike, if you saw the Batman trailer, if you got anything out of it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest surprise I was telling you just a few minutes ago was really just the Flash teaser, just because they trot Ezra Miller out in front of a green screen. He acts like he's a hostage, doesn't want to be there, just goes on and on for a couple minutes that like, oh, we have no footage, we have nothing, we haven't shot anything, why are you even looking at me? And then all of a sudden cue like a teaser trailer where they actually have footage and they show the double Miller next to Supergirl, and it's just like, oh, this is like a teaser trailer. What do you mean you don't have one? It's right here. So I don't know what was going on there.
Well, don't forget, he also said the best thing about the movie was not us going, but us watching him in the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he was doing a bit, right? It was like right on that borderline of, I don't know Ezra Miller enough to see if he's being sarcastic or not. So it was just very bizarre. And the dome just in general was really fun because when I was back home with family, me and my brother just happened to be browsing through YouTube when the fandom was starting. So we're just like, oh, click on that thumbnail, let's watch it. So seeing all of these like personalities in this green screen, like being scaled to this fictitious dome, it was just so funny because they would pull the camera out so far. You would see these people that like look little ants, and it's just like, I get it, you're in a dome, but it's not real.
You're not really in a dome.
Yeah, you don't have to impress me with your fake dome. It was just so funny. Yeah. But the Batman trailer was just kind of more of the same, right? I think it could be a good movie. We see a little bit more Penguin, but I do kind of just feel like I'm dipping back into a Batman movie. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I feel like we've seen almost every interpretation of Batman on the big screen and small screen, right? Like, we've gone from campy to dark and gritty to kind of somewhere in the middle. We've seen different ages of the Batman, younger to older. So I feel like the only water that really hasn't been tread yet is to maybe elevate some of the villains that we haven't really seen before. Like, the Riddler hasn't really been taken super seriously on the big screen, so I guess that's new territory there with Paul Dano. So there could be some new stuff happening here. I'm just curious if a franchise really gets built out of it at all, right? The closest that we've really ever gotten, I would say, to like a real Batman franchise was Nolan, and I think a lot of people didn't really like that third one. Whether or not Heath Ledger was the connective tissue for that, we'll never really know. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall, it was just a lot of little teasers and a lot of little clips, and I feel like I didn't miss much.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, oh, you need to go back and watch, because I think, again, judging by the not discourse, but like just the people's dialogue online of who aren't really in the know like we are, right? Like we're in this almost like too much. That people are like going crazy over the Batman stuff, and that was really about it. Nobody else cared about the Flash, Aquaman, even Black Adam, which I thought was interesting because The Rock is he's always what the number one most paid actor every year almost, it seems like. So yeah, I figured he'd get a little more discourse, but really nothing else has come out of that.
The Rock is a little busy at the moment because somehow he's got like a rap song with like Tech 9 or something that's been used a lot in my TikTok feed recently. So that's kind of weird and bizarre because I'm used to just kind of hearing him do his sing-song talky thing more in a Moana context. So it's just been really funny to hear that. But yeah. I guess that's my wrap up of a week off of kind of slightly missing fandom, but not really.
Yeah, not really. So we'll get into some of this stuff. So it is the Halloween season. So you've been watching some spooky movies, if you will, and tell me about them. Tell me how good they were.
Spook season. The great part about having a bunch of streaming services, I feel like there's a lot of spooky movies out there readily available to stream, right? So I was catching the infamous House of Wax on HBO Max, if I remember correctly. Wax Max makes a lot of sense. And if you don't remember, I feel like this movie only got made just purely off of the back of Paris Hilton because she just happened to be, I don't even want to say she starred in the movie. She was just kind of like almost like a friend of one of the main characters. So this movie really gets made because of her. I even think the poster that you see of the House of Wax has like wax dripping over a silhouette of a face, and I'm pretty sure that's even Paris Hilton's silhouette there. So you can pretty much skip this movie entirely, except I think the ending set piece is actually really, really cool. I guess slight spoilers for the House of Wax, but I don't know, why you would care. But there literally is a house of wax at the end of the movie that starts melting that for a brief moment does look really cool. You can tell that they actually constructed some large objects. I don't know if it's out of wax or what exactly they made it out of it, but then they started melting it in front of the camera. And I just thought that was really, really cool. Like, there's characters that are trying to climb a staircase, but since the house is on fire, their feet start to seep into the steps, and I thought that was pretty neat. So the movie overall is very skippable, but some of the wax effects were actually kind of interesting towards the end. So if you already have your HBO Max subscription, I mean, that's a free watch. Just hit your forward button, fast forward until you start to see a big fire towards the end, and there you go. Watch the house melt. So that was pretty fun.
It's probably on YouTube too.
Yeah, towards the end. And then while I was home visiting family, we watched The Babysitter, which is a movie from McG on Netflix that I believe also had a sequel, but I think the sequel is from a different creative team, so I don't know exactly how it holds up. I haven't watched it, but it's just kind of like this very campy kind of slashery horror movie where the babysitter is trying to collect some blood from the kid that she's babysitting to do a spell, a seance. I'm not exactly sure, but it's graphic, but it's also fun and campy. parts of it are slightly unrealistic that can make your eyes roll a little bit, but then you get into those parts of the film that are just super off the wall and it doesn't even really matter what's happening. But I am kind of interested in watching the sequel because they age up the kid that is babysat returns, and he's older, like an adult kind of in high school now. So I'm curious to kind of see how that dynamic changes. But yeah, a fun little franchise I guess they're building over there at Netflix. The Babysitter, very violent and graphic, but like it once you reach a certain level of blood on screen, it stops being scary and it starts just being like hilarious. So I would say that's kind of what you're getting into there. Like imagine Tarantino and, you know, with those amounts of blood splatter. So yeah, check out the Babysitter franchise. I can't speak for the second one, but the first one was pretty fun.
Is that Samara Weaving, I believe? Is that the actress?
Is she the one that was in Ready or Not too? I don't remember.
I know she's in Bill and Ted Face the Music and Guns Akimbo. Yeah, here I just pulled her up. Yeah, Ready or Not. Yeah, and then Snake Eyes. Yeah, like I think she's a good actress. I think she's gonna be something we see kind of going forward. But that's interesting. I thought when you said Babysitter, I thought, what was that? Is it the Vin Diesel movie where he's a babysitter?
Isn't that the Tooth Fairy? Isn't he a Tooth Fairy?
The Rock was the Tooth Fairy, I thought.
Oh wow.
I don't know. I don't know. They're fighting with each other over who can babysit more kids, but yeah, that's good. Well, then in that case, I'm going to jump into our first bit of news here, Mike. Is what I watched this week. I took a bunch of time off work this week to work on my house, as I showed you. I've got some cool stuff going on, so I could actually by this weekend enjoy the movie Dune, which is now out in theaters and HBO Max. And before we get into this, they don't tell you this in any of the marketing. They don't tell you this in any of the advertising. But when you start it up, it just says Dune Part 1. So if you're expecting this to be the full adaptation of the book Dune, you're going to be very disappointed.
I kind of, it's funny because I come at this of, I haven't seen Dune yet, any versions of the movie, even the one that just came out. I just haven't had time to catch it yet. So Chris is going to give us some spoiler-free thoughts.
Yes.
But even I myself, who hasn't read the book or seen any media, like knew that like this is like a long book / like franchise. This isn't going to be contained to one movie. And if it was, they would have told us that, right? It's like the evidence of absence. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. So it's like they weren't telling people that this was the whole book. So it's obviously not the whole book, right?
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, and I would tell you the first Dune book is not that long. It's not. I mean, I would say it's similar in terms of like reading like the first Hobbit book kind of thing. But it's it's interesting. So I'm going to jump into spoiler free. I'm not going to spoil this. But again, I talked to Patrick, who hosted the show this last week about it, and we both agree you get half of a movie here. It ends in a weird spot, but like I'm going to say, if you don't know Dune, you're going to be pissed off. So wait for both parts to watch. However, this is one of the most visually enthralling films I've ever seen. Denny has really knocked it out of the park in terms of how this looks.
Are you on first names basis with the man?
I don't know how to pronounce his last name offhand. So I didn't want to look like a complete asshole talking about that. So I'm just gonna go with it. He like again Blade Runner 2049, beautiful film, great actors. This is the same thing. The acting is fantastic. We've got a huge cast here, a lot of Marvel or superhero alumni, if you will. So I mean, it's right up our alley for this. But like, he is able to tell the story that the book uses a lot of exposition to, without really being heavily in exposition here and like having voiceovers and stuff like that. It does a really good job, and it's great. Exactly when I read the book, this is how I envisioned it in my mind. Is how he's created it as well. So I think that's a really good translation. So I've got to really applaud him for what he's done, but I think at the same time that there is no promise of a part 2 yet, and that it's not like, hey, wait 1 year for part 2, or hey, wait 6 months for part 2 kind of thing, right? I feel like I'm just sitting here like, it's kind of like a slap in the face. Like, do you want to watch Dune? Well, too bad. You get half of a story, not even the full story. So,
yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I really liked what I saw. I just wish the second half was here, and like that's like gut wrenching for me.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
I just did a Google of how to pronounce, and it's Denis Villeneuve or Villeneuve.
Yeah, right.
That's how you get. That's how you get the. Well, I've never used this pronunciation tool on Google, and even when you click play, you get a little mouth translation, so you get this animation of lips that move with it. So. That's fun. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting kind of like Hunger Games, Harry Potter vibes when you talk about the sectioning of the movie. Like when you see those like second to last movies, you don't quite get the conclusion that you want, but you feel that there's more behind the curtain, right?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I would say, knowing like the rest of the book, where it ends is definitely not where I would split the book, even split the movie kind of thing. Like I'm like, this is an interesting spot to choose. So, but I mean, it's fantastic all around, and I think it definitely deserves a watch if you have it on HBO Max. Theaters, it's going to be kind of your own choice on that if you want to go or not. If you like it enough at home, you may want to go see it there. I built my own theater in the basement, so I was like thrilled to hear the bass and the sounds and see everything kind of come to fruition. But yeah, I don't know, it's weird. I want to recommend it so bad, but I'm like, I hate recommending half of a movie to people because I'm like, you're just going to be disappointed if you don't know what you're watching.
Well, it's like you sat down to watch a movie, paused it halfway through, and then somebody's asking you, "What'd you think about it?"
Yeah.
Well, I haven't finished it yet, so I'll let you know when it's done. But it sounds like you might have to wait like a year and a half to finish it.
It might even be more if they've not started filming it, or maybe they filmed some of it while they were making the first one. I don't know. There could be more there, but I mean, they really need to come out and say, we're committing to a part 2, and then I'd be like, yes, then let's watch. Like, yes, people should watch it, but like until then, I'm like, I don't know if they're going to do it. But it sounds like it's doing well at the box office. It's doing gangbusters on HBO Max, so hopefully.
Chris, you just did the worst thing that you could have done for me. I had planned to watch it this week, but you just gave me the open window to wait until part 2 comes out. So maybe I'll just do that.
I mean, as someone who like you, who absorbs a lot of content, right? Like you watch a lot of stuff. I think you would enjoy this, especially with the the cast list in here that you know of. The people, I'd say, like, if my parents came to me and they were like, hey, Dune, should we watch it or not? It's going to be like a kind of a catch-22 kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, you should. It's great. So it gets more money, so they confirm the second one. But if you don't, but you may be kind of lost. But if you wait, you can watch it with the second one later. But it's kind of a damned if you don't thing. But for you, Mike, I would recommend watching it. I wouldn't say you're in the free yet. But
all right, well, we'll see.
I mean, I'm trying to, I'm just trying to bide my time here because not this week, but next week. So a little under 2 weeks, we have Eternals, Mike, coming out in theaters. And right before this, I saw that the review embargoes had lifted. No spoilers in those mostly, but there are spoilers for this movie and the end credit scenes out in the wild because for some reason the people at Variety thought it was okay to just publish them like in tweets and in their articles after they watched the premiere on Monday.
Yeah, luckily I avoided a lot of that. I saw some people tweeting about it. I was like, all right, it's time to pull up the Twitter feature where I can mute words. And just a PSA, a heads up, if anybody else does that, your first instinct, right, is to use those like first order words like Eternals, use suggested words like deviants and things like that. And that's all great. But what you also have to do is you have to go back and do all of those words again with hashtags in front of them. Because most of the time when outlets talk about this movie, they don't just type the word Eternals, they type hashtag Eternals, and the muted words will not filter that out. So if you're somebody that's hunting through Twitter to put those muted words in there, there's my PSA. Make sure you do one of every word with and without a hashtag. So I think I've avoided most stuff on Twitter. That's where I kind of get all of my quick up-to-date stuff. Luckily, my Instagram Explore tab that has superhero stuff in there, at least if I see something recognizable, I can just scroll really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was really interesting to wake up to Tuesday because I clicked on an article and it didn't load. That it's like, oh, we're gonna put all this stuff in the middle to pad it down so you don't see the spoilers. and none of that was there. And I'm like, oh, well, there it is. So for me, I know what this is, and I don't want anyone else to find out what it is. So avoid everything else that you can do that. But that's coming out next a week now, and reviews are coming out. So I'm going to stay free. I'm not going to watch any more TV spots. I'm cutting myself off, Mike. This is the time to buckle up and go watch Eternals in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to talk about, we're going to talk about Marvel Studios. I'm going to talk about Marvel Animation. Apparently, they are now rumored to add anime in their efforts to put new content on Disney Plus. This comes along I guess a lot of people maybe watch Star Wars Visions, are reacting well to Cowboy Bebop on Netflix. Disney Plus also said that they're looking at original anime programming to Disney Plus, but Marvel has dipped their toes in anime before. I believe you recently watched some, did you not? Is that?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the X-Men animated stuff.
Okay, yeah, so there's X-Men, there's a Wolverine, there's Blade, and there's Iron Man. And then there's an Iron Man movie called Rise of Technovore. So Marvel's no stranger to anime, but I don't know.
Well, it almost this is such a weird kind of moment to start making content and call it anime, right? Because I think authentically when people hear the word anime, they think of something produced and created out of Japan. But the thing is, anime has been so influential for the last 20 or 30 years, just all over the world, even in Western cinema and television, that a lot of the animation that gets made here stateside already has a lot of these anime influence. I mean, think of something like Airbender, Legend of Korra, just anything over here action-based is really heavily influenced by anime. So to me, using the word anime, it's almost starting to lose meaning, which I hope that doesn't seem disrespectful to the creators over there in Japan who's making this stuff, but it's almost just you don't even really need to use the word anymore. And also, how would it be any different from what you're making with What If, right? I'm sure every animator that works on What If loves anime, right? And has used a lot of that inspiration when it comes to creating compositions and fight scenes for sure. So it's just weird. It's just really hard to draw the line. And then on top of that, a lot of other Asian countries are producing their own animations. So South Korea, China, and those... Would you even technically call those anime even more since it's not out of Japan? So it's almost like the category is growing so big, the definition has become pointless in a way.
I don't. So these Star Wars Visions and the Disney Plus, they are actually sourcing these out of the Japan studios that are making them. So I would say that this is safely under the anime umbrella. If you want to go down the OG rabbit hole of whatever it is. So I think they'll be safe with that. But I mean, I hope it's not another anthology series. Hopefully, maybe they pick a character who can live in animation in the MCU and go forward with it. I don't know what they would do. I don't know. Howard the Duck was pretty good in those What If episodes, so maybe they could go down that road. But with him, but I mean, if they're gonna do something Marvel Animation, they just need to go ahead and draw the distinction. This is canonical stuff we're doing, and this is non-canonical stuff we're doing, because I think that's the crossroads they're at. Are we gonna keep doing these What Ifs, which are totally quote unquote canon because they are just alterations on the MCU at whole? Or are we just going to go out of hell with it? We're going to go down we're just adding more content like DC does, right? When they do their Injustice animated movie is, an adaptation of their comic book, but it's not tied to their DCEU or anything proper. So that's what I want to know is how they're going to treat that and pick and choose those things. Sad news, folks. All your movies for Marvel have pretty much been delayed or outright stricken from the calendar for some that were not announced yet. So we're going to talk about Marvel Studios shuffling some stuff this week. It pushed back. So if you want to, Mike, where can they find our list of releases that we update every time a new change is made?
Oh, it's so easy. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com and click on the upcoming releases link at the top of the page. We got this nice little text-based list, no pop-up ads, nothing that's asking for your email subscription, just no ads in general. You don't need an ad blocker to navigate our website.
And we're not going to email you either. Just you got to come look for yourself. But
it's a tool that we use ourselves that we like to share with our listeners, and it's good to have a tool like that, especially now, because Marvel is such an interwoven cinematic universe that when one thing kind of gets delayed, everything has to shift down the ladder. So it seems like that's what has happened here.
Yes. So rather than use their March slot, March 22nd, that has essentially been stricken from the calendar. Nothing's filling it. So Doctor Strange went to May 5th, which was originally Thor Love and Thunder spot. Thor went to July, which was originally Black Panther Wakanda Forever spot, which was is November 11th, which was the original Marvel spot, which took February 17th, which was Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania spot, which is now in July 2023. So they all just, like you said, it's a domino effect, right? One falls, they all fall in the same direction. However, there were two untitled Marvel movies on the calendar for 2023. One in July 28th and one October 6th. They have both been taken off completely. I don't think that means those movies were canned. I think they don't have a release date for them yet, because we only have one more in 2023, and that was on November 3rd, which is actually it was November 10th, I believe, and it's moved up to November 3rd. As you can see here, Mike, as usual, Marvel has a pattern. They usually release the same months, usually almost exactly a year later to the date. They like to stamp their ground in here. And then per Kevin Feige, it was an interview because the Eternals is going on. So he's out of his little Feige hole, as we call doing interviews. Apparently it's production shifts and changes. And because they have so many slots, they can just shift the slots for the movie. So like you said, they literally, if one gets changed, they just plug and play down the line for that. So that's sad that we have to wait till May after to get Doctor Strange after this. But I think, on the whole, this is probably going to be better, maybe. Any vibe for you, Mike, off this right out the gate?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was totally unfazed by the news, right?
Okay.
Because what is like the last year and a half just taught everybody is just like things are perpetually shifting, right? Now, if this was like a normal environment where a pandemic never happened and this news broke, yeah, I think I could probably dissect it a little bit more. But yeah. I have just gotten so used to not having concrete dates for any movies, anything that I'm excited for, that I just sit back and I'm just like, when's the next movie come out? I forget. And then, things like Eternals pop up. Like when we were talking about the review embargo, I pulled up my YouTube subscribe feed and I saw that there was a review available for Eternals, and I was like, wait, what? Isn't that movie a couple more weeks away? And then I realized, oh no, once Halloween weekend's gone, the Eternals is the next one up. So everything in my life, whether it's a movie or whether it's something physical in my being, has been elusive and not screwed down to the ground in the last year and a half. So I'm rolling with the punches, as one would say.
Yeah, the only thing that didn't change in 2023 was Guardians 3 is staying in that May 5th slot.
Yeah, far enough out. I guess the one interesting thing that DC doesn't have to worry about sharing March with Doctor Strange anymore with Batman.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know if the game of chicken ever would have come to fruition with that weekend, because it harkens back to Batman vs. Superman and Civil War, which I think also was happening in March that year that those movies came out, and then one ended up moving to May, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that fight.
Well, and they were on different weekends anyway, at different ends of the month. But yeah, like I said, we can watch Batman and then wait for Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange, to me, again, I think that's one of my most look forward to movies for next year. Now that we're down to 3 instead of 4, so we've got that going for us. But speaking of Guardians 3, apparently it's filming pretty soon. There was an Instagram picture or video of Chris Pratt. He was talking about something, but he was getting his Star-Lord facial haircut going on, those high. They're like sideburns, but they're also tight chops at the top. Whatever his haircut, his facial hair stuff like that. He was getting that done. But James Gunn's we're not filming yet, but we are filming very soon. And that kind of goes back to the date that we, or not the date, the actor for Adam Warlock being announced. So You missed that. We predicted it, Mike, and then it was like announced like the next day kind of thing.
Yeah,
So.
I do have to say, I think the last thing I commented on the show was like I feel like the last time I saw that actor in a piece of media, the look was a little scrawny-esque, kind of like, just like a teenager trying to survive like a dodgeball game in gym class. But then the recent photos of him surfing is like, man, this dude got yoked. Yeah. He is ready to go down, so he's definitely ready for the role.
Well, and the one I sent you was like, I'm like, he's got like a younger John Cena kind of look.
Yeah, I mean, like, some magical things can happen between certain ages of a human's life, and he is experiencing that magic at this very moment. But it is interesting to see Gunn to start to kind of make the transition from DC promotion to Marvel promotion, right? I feel like kind of once Fandom was kind of locked in and like the Peacemaker footage was kind of put out there in the world, and obviously he's on the other side of the Suicide Squad, he'll probably have a little bit more promo to do when that show actually comes out in January, but it seems like he's as me and my wife keep saying, when the weather gets cooler, we're shifting into soup mode. Got to get ready for soup. Gunn is shifting into Guardians of the Galaxy mode, it seems like.
Yeah. So he'll do that. I mean, the biggest question for that is, and that's not related to this, is will he go back to DC after Guardians 3 to do some more? Like, will he do a Suicide Squad 2? Will he do another project there? What do you think on that? That was
I mean,
I saw people have
as far as I can tell, I mean, Gunn is very professional when he's like making statements and answering Q&As on his social media accounts. So you're never going to see him like throw shade. Like, he's not going to let some like little dork on the internet throw him up with like a sidewinder question on his Instagram, right? But everything over at DC seemed to have gone exactly how he wanted it to go, right? He had full reign, whatever characters and stories he wanted to tell. I mean, this one was pretty off the wall and crazy, and he was able to do lots of creative things behind and in front of the camera. So, yeah, I would imagine if he's welcome back or wants to go back, it absolutely will happen.
Yeah. Everything but that... was it the Deathstroke character poster we saw from the concept art? Remember that he?
Oh yeah.
So maybe they'll give him a Deathstroke movie. Maybe they'll let him go over there and do that. But yeah, Guardians 3 filming probably soon. My guess is we may have some announcements and maybe some artwork at Disney Plus Day, which is coming up. That's right. That's like November 12th, right? Is it?
That'll be soon. No, that's November. We got Fandom out of the way in October. Yeah. Now it's time for Disney to come in and just say, like, here, hold my purse. Here's all the things that's inside of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is what we've got going on and filming, and here's all the new stuff. And I like the one thing I will give Marvel on their last media compared to Fandom. Like, Fandom was like 4 hours, and going back and watching this week, I'm like, man, there's a lot of like just filler in here of nothing. Marvel keeps us like, okay, you want to see Guardians? Here's Guardians 3. Here's a little message, some concept. All right, you want to see Ant-Man? Here's Ant-Man.
Yeah,
we've announced Kang.
I mean, I guess the biggest advantage that you can give to Fandom, which they had last year, not so much this year, is that it's not investor-based. Like, everybody gets to watch it, but that has kind of been fixed this year from Disney. I don't think we're going to have like a pop-up screen that says, we'll be back in 2 minutes after the people that invested in us watch this 2-minute trailer.
Yeah. Well, I think Fandom last year wasn't it paywalled or something last year?
I don't think so.
It wasn't easy to watch.
I don't think like the juicy stuff was. Yeah. If anything was paywalled, I'm sure it was just kind of just, I don't know, Q&As or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I know everything got online afterwards, but I was like, man, I remember not being able to watch it very easily. But they had it on YouTube. Anyway, moving along, Sony. I don't know. I think this is planned. This sounds planned to me. Has announced 2 Marvel movies for 2023. After Marvel delayed their calendar. So they have added a June 23rd, 2023 slot, and they took over October 6th, 2023 when Marvel vacated it. So these are Sony's Marvel movie dates. And then Craven is also January 13th of 2023, by the way. So they've got 3 Marvel movies in 1 year. It's adding up. But well, I was going to say, this is where I really think you're going to come to life here. The rumors for one of these dates is a Spider-Man 4 movie. Now, is it Tom Holland or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4 is the online debate right now.
This is pretty wild. I mean, I've been avoiding all of the Instagram squares that have any semblance of a spider in it, right? Because I feel like some set stuff is starting to leak, and that movie's coming out soon. I don't need to see any more than I have to see. So, but I mean, it makes sense that the October 6th date would be, I don't know, I doubt it's Morpheus 2, right? A sequel for that? That'd be insane that early. I mean, Venom makes sense because it has been historically a Venom month, but the second Venom movie was not originally supposed to be October. It was supposed to be a summer like cash cow that ended up falling back in October again. So I don't know if Sony has gotten to its groove and like, oh, let's keep pumping out these Venom movies. You know, we only have Tom Hardy for so long. I'm sure he's going to move on to something else eventually. But yeah, June seems like a big kind of star-studded month where we could get another Spider-Man movie. I mean, it just, in a normal environment, right, where we don't have to navigate like contracts and the length of actors and, you know, I would think it would just be more Tom Holland, right? Just keep making these Spider-Man movies. People are enjoying them and they're making money. Yeah. But since we're in this weird multiversal world, like, I would be open to like an older Spider-Man movie, right? Bring back Tobey Maguire. What's it like being a 40-something Spider-Man? I think Tobey Maguire's in his 40s, right? I didn't just like make him feel elderly, did I?
He probably 40s based on where we are. Probably like maybe late 40s.
How old is Tobey Maguire? Live search on the podcast, 46.
46, yeah.
There, you're like an elderly old man, AARP style.
So the idea. So I'm gonna back up here, but the original Venom 2 date was October of 2020. By the way, it got delayed like 3 times, so it's always been October for Venom. So I think October 6th is a lock for Venom 3. So we'll knock on wood on there. But I think the other one is not just Tom Holland or Tobey Maguire, but maybe an Amazing Spider-Man 3, which is like my least favorite idea. Like, I would hate for them to go back to Andrew Garfield's world of Spider-Man. Like, I hope like this is just people like saying, oh, it could be any Spider-Man, but like, I would love to see Tom Holland, but you know, and actually, you know, Disney doesn't lock in Sony dates, so like the Spider-Man No Way Home movie is not on Disney's calendar; it's on Sony's calendar. So, do you think they could turn around another Spider-Man movie in a year and a half? I mean,
that's a good question. You know what? The thing that we haven't been thinking about is there's a chance that this could end up being a like team up movie, right? You know, is the next movie actually a Venom movie, or is it going to be Venom with somebody else? I guess there's only so many villains that maybe it could be another villain-based movie. Scorpion, is he going to get his own movie? I don't know.
I hope not.
But I doubt that would be June, right? That seems weirded to be June.
Yeah, Spider-Man's notoriously July 4th weekend, or end of June, early July. So I feel it's Spider-Man. Like, what else? I mean, this isn't that Madam Web movie, is it? Like, or the Black Cat Silver Sable movie. Yeah. I feel like they would have announced those because those got really close to production.
I mean, I tell you one thing. The one thing that I'm keeping my eye on that nobody out there has put their finger down on top of is who does Miles Morales belong to, right? Anybody out there that pretends to know 100% of everything about these contracts is lying to you because it's not public information. We're just going off of historical decisions that have been made in the past. And when that Sony deal was signed was well before that character was ever created. So was the contract in perpetuity of everything that was to be created after that? I don't know, but it just really seems like if Marvel wants to get out of this Sony relationship, you just create a Miles Morales and then you just cut and run, right? So I'm really looking for just any sort of legal decisions that center around that character moving forward.
Yeah. The only thing in that regard leaning towards it's Marvel is that he was created literally in 2011 after the MCU had like really solidified. So that's what my hope for. But you know, again, Sony, who owns the consoles, makes the games for Spider-Man, and they have the Miles Morales game locked down, right? Like and then they also did Into the Spider-Verse as well. So it's one of those interesting things where like I hope it's not a shared character because that would suck. But yeah, it could be easily, that June one could be a Miles movie, right? Like maybe that's the way they go instead of a Peter Parker Spider-Man movie. Into the Spider-Verse 2, Across the Spider-Verse, I'm gonna have to get used to that. Is June of 2022. So yeah, that's a great question out here. I really hope it's not like another. If it's a Tom Holland Spider-Man, I'm fine, but I don't want a Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I think that would be weird to go back to a universe later, even though that's literally what The Flash is doing by visiting Batman 89's universe and bringing him back.
I think it's pretty obvious. What we need to do, Chris, is we need to launch a Patreon, and all funds will go to us hiring a legal entertainment lawyer that we will sick out there on the case. Like, I need you out there. I need you in filing cabinets. I need you in manila folders. I need you looking through the fine print because I do not want to read any of it. You have access that I will not have. We need to sneak you into Sony's lot down in Culver City. I will bring the ladder, and then depending on what the patrons want is depending on your bonus.
Yeah. Throw me in. I'll get one of those. It's Halloween time. I can actually go into Spirit Halloween and get a costume right now. Walk on in there.
Just dress up as a Sony property and just say like, I'm supposed to be here shooting today. Like, come on, let me in.
I will dress up. Maybe the Squid Game characters because they look like PlayStation controllers.
Yeah, we're here shooting a Squid Game PlayStation crossover commercial. You don't want to be the security guard that keeps us from this synergy right now.
Exactly. We're here to be the controllers in the new Sony commercial. On the square button, of course. So, but yeah, I don't know. This is interesting. Sony, they're it feels like they're ramping up, which I thought they would be more ramping down, but they are ramping up.
Doesn't it almost always seem like they're ramping up? I feel like whenever we talk about them, it always seems like they're about to do something fantastic, and then it's just kind of just the dates get moved, the characters get changed.
Well, the ones they do announce, kind of like and confirmed, like usually get canceled. They're like, oh, remember that Silver and Black movie?
Oh God. And this would be a totally different conversation, right? If that Morpheus movie actually came out. Morbius, sorry.
Yeah, Morpheus is coming out in the Matrix.
Yeah, because I guess I don't want to damn the movie before it comes out, but it doesn't have a good chance in my mind. So
the problem. Well, the problem is Jared Leto's the fucking lead actor, and like his fans are gonna flock to watch it. You know this, right? Like, Hot Topic is gonna be Morbius themed for the foreseeable future because
you know what? People used to say the same thing about Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He was Hollywood's star boy man, and that doesn't really seem to be the case anymore. So it's just another Hollywood story of you're always just kind of like one project, one bad script decision away from just kind of being out of the limelight.
No matter how much I hate Jared Leto, he won't go away. Like, he just won't go away. He bought the Tron franchise or something, right? So he's going to be in Tron 3. He was in Blade Runner 2049 actually. As like the main villain. He's got that music band he does whenever he's not making movies.
He wasn't in Dune, was he? Or I just feel like he was like sneakily in Dune. He was the Dune.
Yeah, he is the Dune.
The voice.
Oh
he came in front. He did some voice work. He just went.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Jared Leto, the air moving across the sand.
Yeah. Who did the music for Dune? Was that Hans Zimmer? Maybe, I don't know. If it was, he probably got Jared. Hey, Jared, can you come here and play a G string on this guitar real fast for us? All right, good. You're in the soundtrack. Get out of here, kind of thing. So, yeah. Anyway, Sony picking up adding some dates. We don't know what they're going to be. If you've got theories, send them our way. We want to know what you're chewing at there. So, give us some thoughts. Spider-Man No Way Home is rumored to have a runtime of 150 minutes, but I think that's okay because, according to all the rumors and all the theories, everyone who's ever looked at Spider-Man is in this movie, and he's got Doctor Strange, so there's that whole side of the universe. It's just got a lot of things going on in it right now. So
yeah, wasn't it? You sent me a screen cap of something, like a week or so ago that said that we have an impending trailer coming in
Yes.
for the next Spider-Man. Is that going to be tomorrow? Is this another situation where we record on a Sunday and then, of course, there's a trailer the very next day?
It's either tomorrow or next Monday. The thought is it will be attached to Eternals because it'll be the next movie tickets to go on sale.
Gotcha.
And it'll be about a month out. So I'm gonna have to go through our text here.
What's your guess here for the next Spider-Man trailer? Do you think we're just gonna be getting more villain reveals, or do you think we're finally gonna see another Spider person? Because if this is, get your tickets now, it feels like you gotta show the other Spider suits, right?
Mm-hmm. It's 10:25, so yeah, it'd be tomorrow. I think we're at that precipice, yes, where it's either if they give us a trailer this week and they're not in there, the next one when they announce ticket sales, it will be. But I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, they normally do ticket sales a month in advance, 3 to 4 weeks. So if they want to do them almost 2 months in advance for a Spider-Man movie, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, just to build the hype up for Spider-Man, right? Like, it's always huge. But I think the announcement of the other Spider-Man will go with ticket sales. Like, tickets now on sale to see all the Spider.
Well, I guess Spider-Man sells tickets because I think that's what they did for Civil War as well. I think the Get Your Tickets trailer was when they showed Spidey at the end of that trailer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, you've got adults wanting to see it. You've got kids wanting to see it. People who are our age, when Spider-Man came out with Tobey Maguire, now have kids who want to see Spider-Man. So I think there's a nice flip here, a cycle of generations to do this. So I think so. I did see I think is it Empire magazine has some an article with Spider-Man in it this month coming up. They've got some stills from the movie showing Doc Ock chasing Spider-Man. Nothing that you wouldn't, the next frame in the trailer pretty much. I'd be excited to see some of this stuff. And kind of how it ties into everything. I want to see more, but I don't want to know more, Mike. Like that's where I'm at. I'm like I know I've heard too many names. I've heard too many rumors. I just want to know what it is, and then get there to the theater. So, is that? I mean, no question here, Mike. Is this an opening night movie for you? I know you've been really enjoying those Saturday mornings, but knowing how Spider-Man is,
that's tough, right? Because we got our Eternals tickets again for a Saturday morning showing, but it just seems like there's so much chocked full in this crazy ass Spider-Man movie coming up. Maybe I gotta, just double mask it, don't get snacks like I usually do. Watch out for that Delta Plus, because apparently that's a thing now that has its own streaming service.
Yeah, you gotta pay subscription.
We'll see how that goes.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I think, nothing against Shang-Chi, nothing against Black Widow or the Eternals, but I think this movie is going to set the tone of Phase 4 more than those other ones have so far. So we'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow, Mike, if we're doing a trailer review next week. For sure. The news I thought I didn't think I'd see this week is there's a huge rumor going around that they're going to be doing a World War Hulk movie, and filming will start next year for this.
Wow. Well, speaking of needing that entertainment lawyer, this is like a whole nother segment where we talk about Universal's distribution rights, right?
Yeah. So, I did look this up. According to probably 8 different higher tiered websites, kind of like the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, so on and so forth, say that they got the Hulk rights back in 2019, 2020 range for distribution. Going forward, not backwards. That's why the Hulk is not on any of the streaming services, the Disney Plus, and that's why we've not had a solo Hulk film literally since 2008. But there is the upcoming She-Hulk TV series, Abomination's in there, and Shang-Chi. I feel like they are working towards a more than a single Hulk in the world. Maybe a Red Hulk. World War Hulk. This will not be the same movie as the comic book, right? It's just going to be in name alone, because there was no Planet Hulk. He doesn't come take over the Earth and whatever. But I feel they are working towards this, so the hints are there. So I'm likely to believe this will be announced in 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the
yeah. I mean
Disney
that does seem like the biggest omission kind of from the Hulkverse right now at the moment is Red Hulk, right? I mean, what's his main villain? I want to say like Sinestro, but that's not it.
The
That's
leader.
that's Green Lantern. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could throw a Hulk villain in there for maybe a close second. Well, I guess a Hulk villain outside of a Hulk-like creature. But yeah, Red Hulk. We want to see a big red thing on screen, right?
Yeah. The multicolored Hulks are definitely something that they need to tap into a little bit. And then was it Doc Samson, who's like the human guy with the green mullet or like long, He-Man hair from the Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Remember him? He was, like, there's an idea of like, I don't think there's a game of prison, but like, if She-Hulk gets a blood transfusion from the Hulk, there's probably going to open up doors for other people getting Hulk powers, and it'd be interesting. I would love to see Mark Ruffalo come back as a person rather than just a Hulk for this, hopefully. So I'm down. Like, this isn't bad news to me, but I want to get some official confirmation before I put it on our list of things coming up. So anything else you want to add to that? You good?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see a big red muscle.
Big red muscly Hulk. And what about and then also like there's, I don't know if you know, there's Red She-Hulk as well.
See, all the colors of the rainbow can be big muscles, right? Yeah. They cannot be contained to a Disney Plus screen. They must be on the big screen.
And I'm pretty sure the Red She-Hulk is Betsy Ross.
We're gonna bring back Liv Tyler for this?
I hope so. I mean, damn. But I don't know. We'll see. So this next topic, I've left some vagueness in here. Miss Marvel, one of the actors who worked on the show, says that the show will not be coming out till possibly June or July of 2022, which is surprising how late that would be, right? We thought it would be very, very soon. Now, I have two theories behind this, Mike, and I want to picture up. They're making changes to Miss Marvel's source material. Do you want to know what that is, or do you want to wait?
So there's two things that come to mind. I suppose I will speak them and decide if I want to know. The first one is origin, for sure, right? In the comic books, her origin is Inhuman. Big concept that's up in the air right now for the MCU. Is it going to be Inhumans-based? Is it going to be mutants-based? Are they just going to kind of wave it off as some sort of weird science experiment that makes her stretchy? I don't know, but I would imagine that could be it. But now that I say stretchy, there was that kind of possible rumor. I don't even know if it was a rumor, if it's somewhat confirmed, is I feel like the last time we talked about Miss Marvel was she was going to have like a different power set possibly for her TV show, where they showed like crystals around her hands or something, and we weren't really sure what was going on there. So I have to say, like, I'm a little worried about this TV show right now, just because like those crystals kind of freaked me out a little bit.
So it wasn't confirmed, but I'm just going to tell you, they are changing her size, changing to be like light constructs, like that kind of come off as crystally, right? Like she's not stretching.
No, why? I feel like I could say this like 1,000 times. Like, why?
So
Chris.
I'm going to send you a photo.
Okay.
That of some promo art that is leaked, and I will tell you, this looks way better than the other one we saw, because it actually looks like her hand is expanding, but it's not just a stretchy, malleable hand. It's becoming a literally very large light crystal construct hand.
Yeah, I suppose there is an embiggening quality to it. I mean, I don't know.
We don't. This is like a whole different, like, they're changing everything. Do you want to know? You want to know her origin as well? The rumored origin with this?
Well, hold on. I would suppose you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Yeah. Because there's something so wacky and slapsticky in general about like a human body part like enlarging or stretching, which is something I suppose they still have to solve eventually when they get to Fantastic Four, right?
Right.
So I don't know. Is this just like a compromise? So it's just not awkward when you have two characters on screen with the exact same powers eventually? I don't know. I suppose all I can do is just lean back and use the faith that the MCU has built over the last decade or so and trust that they know what they're doing. But this image that I'm seeing seems like a half measure almost. So, but yeah, what's the origin you got for me, Chris?
Well, it's Kree technology, not necessarily inhuman or mutant or genetic based.
Oh, that's worse. That's the worst thing you could have told me, Chris. I would have rather it been a science experiment.
Yeah,
I know what you vat of something.
I know what you'd rather, but yes. Now she will be in the Marvels, which is next year. But this was just one of those things. I was like, should we talk about this? Because again, Mike, I'm an Inhuman fan. I love the Inhumans. Those are my jam. Miss Marvel was never really in that I like the Royal line. Then we have the Avengers game with Miss Marvel, which is like a really good introduction to her. Even if you don't like the gameplay, I think her character arc and her character is really interesting. And when you play as her, you get those embiggening powers, right? Like you actually stretch up and out, and like she becomes huge, and that's really cool visually to see in a video game. Now, I need to see the footage of this before I make any judgments. Again, have they made any other adjustments overall to characters recently like this, like enough to change the power set and the origin story of, and then just give her a name.
So if you told me it was like a Kree serum or something, right, that got put into her and she's still got the embiggening powers, it just feels like they're changing too many puzzle pieces. Like, yeah, you can move one. They do that all the time, right? They'll present us the idea of like Captain America's Civil War, and it has nothing to do with the storyline of Civil War, but it's still at the heart of heroes fighting each other, right? Or they'll have alternate origins for characters, but they'll ultimately have the same powers. But this seems like such a sea change, right, from the original comic book character, which isn't that old. It's not like this is some wacky, like, golden age hero that nobody has ever heard about. Like, Kamala Khan is very, very new to the scene.
Yeah, well, exactly. And this is a situation where you've changed two things that are core to this character. Like, these aren't like, oh, we, changed her outfit, or, we changed her first name by a couple letters. This is literally like her origin as an Inhuman and dealing with that fact about her life. And then also, she has the embiggening powers, which means, as a child, you can have some complexes, right, with your body changing. Like this is down the middle. So just by saying there is, and hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully these are just rumors, and maybe someone read this wrong, could be a translation for some of this, but like, if she's now powered by technology and using light constructs, just use a different fucking character. Like, just make a new one, right, for this thing. Like, you don't have to take Miss Marvel as a whole and adapt, two solid core. Like, if they change one more thing, I'm like, just give her a new name, call her a new person. Like,
yeah. Now, there could be a chance, I don't want to, throw the baby out with the bathwater, as one could say, is, who knows, maybe it starts off this way, and maybe at the end of the season she gains embiggening powers. That could be a possibility. I don't understand how the storytelling mechanic of that, but it does seem strange. Like, they could have waited to introduce this character, right? I understand that you want to get representation on the screen as quick as possible, but like, it seems like if you do it, make sure you do it right, especially for this very beloved character. This almost seems like introducing Miles Morales and then just like, oh, actually he's not bitten by a spider. He uses Kree technology, and he doesn't web sling or have his like Venom striker turn invisible. He flies or something, right? It's just like, why would you change so much about it? I don't know. I'm worried about this, Chris. I'm officially very worried.
I'm not worried because again, and I'm going to tell you, you shouldn't be worried either. We're not precious on this character, right? Like, this isn't something that we hold dear to ourselves. If someone else who does and sees themselves in this character and they feel it violates them, then maybe we can have that conversation. But for me, I'm not precious on Miss Marvel enough to care. Now, I will say, yeah, there's an opportunity here for her to change over time. Maybe by the time she gets to the Marvels, she has more of a stretchy power, and like, this is like a stepping stone to get there. But I want to see this. I think this is going to be the biggest question. Now, if they do it in July of next year, like we said, and they just delayed the Marvels to February, it's going to be a little bit of a wait between those. But I don't know. I want to see this in action, And we gotta let the Feigster tell us how he's handling.
I guess he's using all of his good faith on this one show. I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Even if this was a bust, I mean, I think, and we've talked about this. I know you really dislike Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm just like amicable with it. Like, I think that was a wasted opportunity all around. Like this is less so than that, but I think there's an opportunity to, they can change and redeem it over time. So we'll see. We mentioned this at the top of the show. Hayden Christensen is set to return not just once in Obi-Wan Kenobi, but again in the Ahsoka TV show coming up on Disney Plus in the Star Wars universe. After we haven't seen him since 2005, he's now been back and he's coming back to 2 shows. I guess that movie. What did you say it was? It wasn't Mystic Pizza, but it sounds like Mystic Pizza.
Oh, Little Italy.
Yeah, there it is. He's needing some work to do. But apparently, so just a reminder, Ahsoka is set after Return of the Jedi, right? Like, this is in the Mandalorian time frame. Mm-hmm. So he's not necessarily alive at this point. So is Hayden Christensen going to be a flashback to Anakin in the Clone Wars? Is it going to be a Darth Vader kind of thing from Rebels? Or is it a Force ghost kind of thing? Because we saw him as a Force ghost at the end of the special Ultra Mega Blu-ray remastered version of Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Is there a right answer here?
Well, it does seem like if you're doing an Ahsoka show, right, she has been this, for lack of a better term, a piece of IP that has shifted around a lot in the timeline now, right? She's been in 2 different timelines of animated TV shows, and now she's live action. That would be her furthest shift in the timeline, right? When she was in Mando, that was the oldest incarnation of her character.
Yeah, Clone Wars and Rebels is pretty close. They're both set in between, are set up pretty early at the top of this. Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. And I know you could probably show her, her origin a lot better off in the Clone Wars, right? But if you kind of wanted to tell the story of adult Ahsoka, maybe her show starts off as kind of like it's hard to say prequel because, like I said, this character is all over the timeline, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Ahsoka show starts off maybe before she ever meets Mando, right? It could jump back and forth, but it would be pretty dope to see a fight between Ahsoka and Darth Vader, right?
So that is in Rebels. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, that's already in Rebels. They've they fought in that show. And she's an adult. I think she's square adult in that show. But what did she do during the original trilogy? She's. I'm sure she's aware of Luke Skywalker. Maybe during that time, or maybe I would like to see, hopefully, a better deepfake version of Mark Hamill meeting Ahsoka and kind of going through this route, because she's not. I mean, you're familiar with her Clone Wars, right? Early on in season 5, she leaves the Jedi Order. She just
she's very. I mean, she's so disillusioned from kind of the Jedi way when we meet her live action that her lightsabers don't even have color to them, right?
Right.
She's just she's so like Switzerland, right?
She's very much a Force user for good, but she's I don't believe in your organized Jedi ways. I'm just going to use the Force for good in my way. That way. So I would love to see her talk to Luke Skywalker and have a conversation about that.
When she has her altercation with, Vader in Rebels, is it cathartic in any way, or is it just like an action scene? Does she have a conversation with Anakin in any way?
I would say less conversation, and there's more to deal with that in season 3 or 4. I don't think they need to revisit it, but maybe they do. Maybe there is something else in there.
I mean, Force Ghost does make sense, right? Yeah. I mean, so maybe, and then you would get Hayden Christensen, right? Because if you're just bringing Vader back, like in the Obi-Wan show, you don't really even need to bring the actor back, except maybe to do some ADR, right? Unless the helmet falls off and you want to, slap some scarring and stuff on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, there could be flashbacks to maybe their Clone Wars era from scenes that they didn't show in the Clone Wars.
Oh, that actually would be really cool. remake show some iconic scenes that happened during the Clone Wars, right? But in live action with this whole volume technology. That would be a fun little thing to see. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit in our next topic of remaking things in live action. But yeah, I think that could be cool to see.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for flashbacks in the Clone Wars and then Force Ghost. I don't think we need to see her versus Darth Vader. As cool as it sounds, I think they did a really good job in Rebels, and Obi-Wan fighting Vader would be pretty solid for me, I think. So we'll hope for those two things and probably get something. Again, hopefully at Disney Plus Day, man. I feel like a lot of these announcements are like they're just hyping us up. They're like, hey, get ready for us to actually confirm or deny this. Mm-hmm. Uncharted, they finally made a movie. Mike, you've been waiting on this for years. We've all how many directors they went through, how many delays. We've got Tom Holland, we got Mark Wahlberg, it's not Benicio del Toro.
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas, there it is.
Puss in Boots.
Yeah, exactly. And they gave us our first trailer for this upcoming adaptation, which is coming out in February. I didn't realize how soon that was. This I've seen other videos. This is shot for shot from some of the games, like literally, like that ship in the underground cove kind of thing, and his brother's necklace and stuff like that.
Yeah, the cargo net set piece out of the plane. That's straight from a scene in the game.
Yeah, so I've not played the original games. I've played 4, but Mike, you're more hyped for this than I am.
It's a mixture of hype, right? Because I feel like I'm the Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where I'm pointing at the screen going, oh, that's from the game, that's neat, I played that. Because when you play a video game, right, especially a series of games with the same character, and you spend so many hours with it, these aren't super long, intense games, but they're very cinematic and storytelling. Mm-hmm. You get to know and very familiar with the characters, right? So when I see them on the screen in a movie, I'm like, oh, this is cool, the characters I liked. But then after the trailer was over and I kind of thought about it, I was like, this really feels like that Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander, right?
Yeah.
That came out a few years ago. Like, nothing really seems like, I don't feel like I'm seeing a particular style or vibe to it. It just feels very cut and dry. We're making just a summer action movie. Hopefully it makes some money and maybe you'll see a sequel. So I was kind of hoping for maybe a little bit more of a vision, right? But yeah, it looks I was expecting to see, Nick Frost at the end of it in a beard, handing some guns over to him. Like, no, that was the Tomb Raider movie. So this would be the perfect movie that I would love to see at home, day and date, right? Like, I don't think I have to go to a theater to see it, but man, if I could just watch it at home.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying that Mark Wahlberg is gonna get like the mustache at the end of the movie, right? Because that's his iconic look, and we've already actually seen like an Instagram photo of him sporting the mustache. So it's gonna be like that thing at the end of the Tomb Raider movie where she finally gets like the double gun holsters at the end. Sully's finally gonna get the mustache at the end. So there's lots of really great narrative to tell. But I can't tell if I just enjoyed it because it was in a video game or if it's just good in general. So we'll see how it goes. It does make sense. You definitely can start a Nathan Drake story at this point in his life. It looks like if Tom Holland is actually playing his age, I guess Nathan Drake would kind of be in his early 20s. Possibly late teenager, depending on how they want to pivot the character.
He'd have to be, he's a bartender, so probably 21.
Oh, yeah, so 21, that meant at least, well, I guess it depends on the country because he is a world traveler. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they mention his brother and everything. So they're mentioning all these pieces that's across all of these video games. So the movie franchise is there for the taking. It's ready to go. It's just, is it going to be any good? But also, the biggest caveat, we've talked about this on the show before, Sony doesn't cut a very good trailer, right? Even when they have a good movie on hand. So that's a big asterisk for this segment of the podcast right now.
I think Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg are great actors. I think they're, like, if anything, like, I think they're going to be saving graces for this, right? Like, even if the story's kind of just okay, I think having two really good, infectious actors are going to be great for this movie. I think they can do great. So I think that's, but as someone who doesn't play Uncharted,
I mean, it feels like that movie Sahara, or like
Oh, yeah.
or like you said, Tomb Raider, like to the core. So hopefully there's actually again, this is a teaser. Hopefully the next one kind of gives a little more story. Like, for those who don't know what the story is, like, he's hunting for treasure, yes, but what, why, how, kind of thing. So yeah, I think again, Tom Holland's a great actor. I think he's gonna do great action scenes. So we'll see how that goes. Did you watch this awesome Cowboy Bebop live action, The Lost Sessions?
I did. I did.
So I've never seen Cowboy Bebop, right? I'm totally new. Is the show like this video?
So I'm actually glad you put this in the show, because I haven't really had a chance to really vocalize my feelings on this. As far as I can tell, there is a chance that we have not seen a single frame from the television show yet, Cowboy Bebop, the live action version, because we saw the opening title crawl, right? But as we've seen in a lot of title crawls for TV shows, that could just be footage shot specifically for that. And it was very, very stylized. So they're either taking the most stylized portions out of the individual episodes, or they just shot those for the opening title. I mean, they know how important the opening title is going to be for Cowboy Bebop. They know it's so important. They mirrored it almost one for one, and they used the exact same song. So it makes sense that they would go to the extra effort of shooting special stuff for that. And this Lost Sessions video is very much a promo, right? They're doing some fun stuff where their characters are taking like the dividing bar that's chopping up the video footage, and they're throwing it around, and they're bantering across. All of the stuff that they're saying is definitely not from an episode. So I'm in this weird scenario where it's just like, we haven't even actually seen the show yet. We've just seen very clever marketing material that's been given to us that all looks very different. But I would say they're capturing the spirit of the show with this stuff, but I can't tell you for certain that this is how the show will end up looking, right? Because it all feels very campy so far, right?
Well, my question is the original anime like this or not?
Well, the original anime, just like a lot of Japanese content, is kind of all over the place, right? You'll get some crazy, deep, depressing episodes where you're connecting with villains who are just on the brink of destruction, and then you'll get like a weird, trippy episode where somebody eats a weird mushroom and they're like, they're tripping and trying to like hunt down a watermelon. So like the episodes definitely range.
No, it's not that. Is the style of watching the episodes look like this, where they're pulling on bars, going across 4 different scenes?
No.
I don't know that. So if I watched this and I was like,
absolutely not.
If this whole episode is like Quentin Tarantino meets Scott Pilgrim, like this is way too fast, and like, while it's beautiful, it's a great promo, but like, I really hope the TV show isn't like this at all.
Yeah, that's why it definitely feels promo-y. Like if anybody goes back and watches it again or watches it for the first time, just really look at it from the point of view of somebody's making a commercial, and that's what it feels like. It doesn't seem like a lot of these shots could be pulled from an actual episode, because there's a scene where Spike Spiegel is fighting a bunch of characters, but then the staff that he's fighting with becomes one of the dividing bars, like very seamlessly. Yeah. It's like, oh, they would have had to shot that for this promo. So I've seen a lot of discourse out there where some people are saying like, oh, this is too much. They're leaning too far away from the spirit of the show. And I'm here to say, I don't think anyone has seen the show yet. I don't think they've put it out there for the world yet. Maybe there's some shots in some episodes that get really kind of wacky, but whether or not this is or isn't the case, at least like it's the opposite of what I was saying for Uncharted, right? At least somebody has a creative direction for the show. They're like, nobody's been able to properly adapt and animate a live action, and maybe it's because they're trying to be too safe or try to do too one-to-one. Like, let's just go weird and wild and wacky with it. So at least if people hate it, it's because of these choices that we made, not because anime cannot be adapted. So I'm still excited for the show, but like, I feel like I have not been given any new information almost.
And someone who's not watched the show, like I echo what people have said online. I'm like, I literally thought this was the show. Like whenever I saw it, I'm like, if this is the show, while this is awesome and very thing, like, do they take the black bars? Do they break the fourth wall, third wall, whatever it is in this situation with each other to kind of go across? I think, from a technical point of view, it's beautiful. It's done really, really well. Like, I think it even amplifies Scott Pilgrim stuff to like a new level in terms of how they handled it. And it's really fun, and the characters are really, like, you get their banter, you get their dynamic pretty early on. But again, as someone who's not seen it, this is presented to me as how the episode is and how the show's going to be. I'm like, this is way too fast. They got to pump the brakes. So, like, I think, well, I agree with you. We probably haven't seen an episode of the show. Netflix is not doing themselves justice to newcomers by giving us this without any of that context.
Yeah, I'm really curious. When are we gonna get this? When are we gonna get anything official? I want to see an actual scene from the TV show.
Now, in the other side, I no longer have any reason not to watch this because the entire original show is now on Netflix.
Yeah.
So you can watch all the anime on Netflix.
Woohoo.
And right now I'm currently utilizing someone else's Netflix because one of the only like shows on there I'm watching is the Great British Baking Show. And it's live every Friday. I love it. I wish Netflix took the weekly schedule for their shows and didn't have the binge model. But I'm excited to possibly catch up on this. See, there's like 26 episodes right in the first season. It's just a short season, so we'll see what that is. Lastly, Mike, I didn't even know this was on air yet. Why the Last Man? On Hulu, canceled already. So didn't even make it one season.
Yeah, we never really got around to talking about it. The wife and I watched the first 2 episodes. It had been so long since I had read the first kind of collected volume of the comic book that I really couldn't remember the orders of operations of the things that I read. So I didn't really know if things were deviating, how close they were being to it. This was one of those weird things where I'm still not 100% sure, but it was for FX exclusively on Hulu. So I don't know if this even necessarily ever made it to cable in any way. I think it was just exclusively for Hulu, which means it was kind of pivoted as a premium streaming show. And it kind of felt like that when I watched it. It almost seemed like they were on maybe a somewhat smaller budget, but I really liked the lead actor who was playing, I can't even remember the main character's name. York, yeah, that's right. I really like that lead actor, and it seemed like they were putting a very interesting cast together. But at the same time, whether or not the show is effective or good or not, because I kind of stopped watching it, so I'm sure it could be great. I didn't see anybody talk about the show, right? And that's almost like a requirement when you're adapting like IP into the world, right? If you don't see anybody out there having a conversation about it online in any of like your social circles, that means the show's not really being as effective as they thought it would be. So I think that was probably the biggest problem of the show. It's just like nobody talked about it. Like I watched the first 2 episodes. They aired all at once on the first week. And then I think there was another episode that even popped on a couple days later. So in the first week of the show, you could watch 3 episodes of it, and it had been out for a couple weeks. Nobody was talking about it. So that means like no one's finding it particularly engaging enough to where they need to recommend it to friends.
There's still 2 episodes left even.
And I see you have the other bullet point here that they're, possibly shopping it around to other services. I wish them luck. Like I said, I can't render a judgment on it because I haven't been watching it, but that's not a good sign if people aren't talking about your icon. I mean, Why the Last Man is a very iconic comic book that a lot of people read and a lot of people talk about. I guess is it indie? Is it an indie comic book really? I mean, maybe in spirit it's independent, but I know it's not from an indie label.
It's Vertigo. So it's not, Vertigo is now owned by DC. So this is like where Sandman and like all those other kind of stuff kind of came from. So it's darker indie, I'd say. Yeah.
It almost kind of seems like the same thing of Jupiter's Legacy.
Jupiter's Ascending,
right? Ascending's the movie.
I know.
Right? See, this is a whole other problem. Yeah. It's just like that's another property that was adapted that came out that just people weren't talking about it. So that's like that X factor that unfortunately you can't always predict, right? You could get a really good showrunner, an awesome writer's room, some really good directors, the budget for really good special effects. But if you just can't quite hook into the zeitgeist, right? You can't. There's nothing you can do.
I think they're trying to replicate the lightning in a bottle that was both Umbrella Academy and The Boys. Both comic books that people like and read. Kind of got a zeitgeist, and they were in the talk, right? Everyone was talking about them when they came out, and they're getting more seasons. So I think Why the Last Man, while I think is a longer one, I think this is I think it just suffers from maybe they tried to make it for too long, and I don't know if maybe the story got stale or.
What? I was thinking about that a little bit, and probably somebody who's more educated into like gender politics would probably have more of an eloquent opinion about this. But it does seem a little stale, right? When this comic book came out, the tensions between men and women on the planet and the power struggles and the patriarchy was like all very much on the pulse. But we've evolved so much since that comic book has come out, in a good way, to where now it's about like, the assignment of gender. Is it a construct? Do you even have to pick one or the other side? So it almost seems like the show had almost like fallen behind the times a little bit, but they did, they were kind of talking about a transgender identity in the very first episode. So it seems like at least they had made an effort to kind of update it. And then also, I feel like I'm at a point where I shouldn't be talking about this because I didn't finish the whole comic book storyline in general. So I'm speaking from basically a direction of ignorance. But at the same time, it all boils down to I didn't see anybody talking about the TV show. So that's kind of its biggest folly.
Even in the news stuff where I gather our notes, I've not seen anything other. Even I think the initial launch, it was quiet. There are 2 episodes left in this season, and I honestly haven't seen nothing even in the news channels where I get our stuff from. So
it's funny that you do bring up The Boys, right? Because the director who directed the first episode of The Boys, Dan Trachtenberg, also I believe directed the first. He either directed the first episode of Why the Last Man, or he was also attached to turn the comic book into a movie. So there is a little bit of crossover there. It just goes to show you, even if you have all the right pieces in place, right, sometimes it just doesn't always go your way.
Yeah, he I don't see Trachtenberg on the wiki. I don't think he did anything on this one, but I think he might have been trying to do the movie version.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it.
Because because they've been trying to turn this into a movie since 2016, it looks like here. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's just it's sad that it didn't go. I mean, I didn't really hear it, like I said, no fanfare, no talking points, and it's at a time where new content is again still hard to come by, pretty frequently, and again looking at the success of Squid Game, something that has nothing else behind it. It did not have a fan base. It did not have a award-winning comic book series, and it's now the most popular money-making thing in the world. So you can have, like I said, this is why Warner Brothers robot for movies will never make sense, because you can't pick what will make something successful. It just, the nature will do its own thing. Take it the other way. All right, well, that's the episode for this week. Mike, if people want to know more about you, what you're up to, what you're doing, what can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. People know more about the show, what we do, where they can leave us a review or tell other people about us. Where can they do that at?
Oh, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. Remember earlier in the episode when I told you to go there to find our upcoming release calendar? Well, you can also go there to find the other places we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. The show notes came in handy for me last week because I wasn't on the show. So I went through and I looked at everything that Chris and Patrick talked about. I clicked on some of the links, watched some of those trailers that I missed. So these show notes are really, really useful, even when you're in the show and making it. So head on over to superheroslate.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love it when you reach out. What are your theories on the Sony Spider-Man shenanigans that are coming up? Do you care if Kamala Khan's power set changes, or do you think she should be embiggening like she was in the comic books? Reach out and let us know. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy. Make sure you're vaccinated, and if you're on the fringe of a pre-existing condition, maybe it's a good idea to get that booster shot, because like Chris said, am I going to be seeing Spider-Man opening night with a crowded theater? I sure would love to feel safe when I do that, so go get your vaccination, and we will be here every week, folks.
Yeah, and that includes next week. We'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I used to have a little Post-it note right on my computer that said, don't say like so much. I don't know if it ever helped because it stayed there on the computer for so long. I just got kind of used to it being there.